Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Jamaica among world leaders in the recycling of plastics. St. James police say they have a handle on crime. And later in sports, Jamaican teenage triple jump sensation Jaden Hibbert wins prestigious award in the US. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. Jamaica's dengue cases have surpassed 1,000. There has been an influx in cases Medical Officer of Health for the parish, Dr. Tamika Henry, provided an update.
For the parish of St. Anne so far, we have had 72 positive cases. Sadly, we have had one confirmed death in a 10-year-old male child.
Now, she says the main strain is type 2. However, the health department has been noticing a circulation of cases of types 3 and 4. Dr. Henry says while cases are slowly rising, the pace is as a result of heightened intervention. And we do apologize for that insert. Now, the St. James police say they have been reaping success in their efforts to reduce crime in the parish. They say a number of their most wanted men have been captured, and so there should be a significant impact soon.
We are beginning to get a handle on crime. That statement by the police in St. James following an increase in murders in several areas over the weekend, despite a state of emergency imposed in the parish. The declaration from the police comes days after Chamber of Commerce President Oral Heavens called for increased operational activities on the streets of St. James, especially with the busy Christmas period. Speaking at the latest Municipal Corporation meeting on Thursday, Superintendent Aaron Samuels, who is in charge of operations for the parish, says the reduction is due to the capture of some of the main criminals in the area.
We have had a busy period over the last couple of months, but we are still in line for a decline in murders at the end of the year, and we are hoping that with the help of everyone that we can clear up a lot of the incidents that we have.
Superintendent Samuels, in the meantime, is assuring business operators and residents that there will be adequate police personnel on the ground for the festive season.
Especially motorcyclists on the streets. We will be putting persons out of our administrative roles and putting them in operational roles. But we are hoping that we can get some assistance from everyone is to ensure that we, get the information out to the police officers in terms of incidents that they believe, crimes that they believe may be committed or can be committed, so that we can be a little bit more proactive in getting things sorted.
As for persons that will be plying their wares in the town centre, the police say that will be limited.
We are not going to allow an overrun of vending on the streets for this Christmas, even though we are aware of the situation with the shoe arcade. But our investigation have found that a lot of the persons who lost in the shoe arcade were already on the streets. They have used a lot of their area there in the shoe arcade for storage. So we do not expect to have an overrun based on the work that we've been putting in.
Carrie-Ann Simpson for TVJ News.
And the country is already above global standards in the recycling of plastic bottles. Executive Chairman of the Recycling Partners of Jamaica, Dr. Damien King, made that declaration at the opening of a processing facility in Nagahead, Portmore, St. Catherine earlier this week. It comes as part of the government's plan for a more sustainable economy. Carrie-Ann Simpson tells us more.
The drive by the government to reduce the amount of plastics ending up in Jamaican waters is bearing fruit. So much so that efforts to have plastic bottles recycled have surpassed the global standard of 27%. According to Executive Chairman of the Recycling Partners of Jamaica, Dr. Damien King, Jamaica is now 3% over that target. He noted that when the project began 5 years ago, over 60 million bottles were collected. But for 2023, that has reached over 200 million plastic bottles. It's something Minister with Responsibility for Climate Change and Environment, Matthew Samuda, is pleased with. He, however, notes that the 27% global figure will be changed shortly. Hence, there's much more work to do. Mr. Samuda says this comes following the establishment of a global plastic treaty.
But what is this treaty targeting? This treaty, as it stands now, looks to penalize countries that do not collect and recycle 70% of its plastics waste. That will be the headline discussed. Now, with all of these treaties, there will be hundreds of pages.
The minister noted that while other countries in the region will be playing catch-up when the treaty is enforced, Jamaica will be advanced due to the partnership with the recycling partners of Jamaica, the government and the private sector.
Jamaica will be well on its way to implement, not just ratify, but implement the terms of that treaty long before the rest of the region. But this treaty will call for other things, some that Jamaica is already moving on. Later in the fiscal year, we will table regulations for the removal of microplastics from our personal care products. Now, that is a very small component weight-wise of our total plastics waste, but that is another thing that this treaty will call for, and we will be 2 to 3 years ahead in ensuring that these microbead plastics that are in your face soaps, are in deodorants, are not entering our wastewater stream, which there is no sewage system globally that can pull this out.
Carrie Ann Simpson for TVJ News.
Now back to the dengue-related news. The St. Thomas Health Department is urging residents to heighten their vigilance in the fight against dengue.
Especially with the rains still coming on and off. If you had a ton of heavy rain, it would wash away all the eggs. But the rain is coming, stopping, and allowing time for more breeding to occur. So I'm just encouraging everybody to be vigilant once per week, making sure that you're checking your homes, seeing if there is any kind of breeding occurring in your dog ponds, if there are any cans. There's going to be more garbage at this time of the year, more solid waste. So we have to ensure that it's being properly packaged and ready for the solid waste team to pick that up.
Medical Officer of Health for the parish, Dr. Doyen Smith, provided an update on the rehabilitation of the Yallas Health Centre.
Our functionality of Yallas Health Centre out of Landui and Lloyd's Health Centre, persons have still been adjusting to having to drive over. But the construction at Yallas Health Centre continues, and we're hoping to, in the new year, be back in Yallas Health Centre. So we're working very, very assiduously at that.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Close to 400 direct new jobs have been created with the opening of the Hideaway at Royalton Blue Waters Hotel in Trelawney. At the official opening on Wednesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness also noted the 350 indirect new jobs created, but says jobs alone are not enough. Mr. Holness is calling for greater linkages to impact other industries. Jamaica is on track to welcome some 4 million visitors this year.
For us to really benefit from tourism, everything that can be supplied to the tourist who visits here, that can be produced here, should be made and supplied from here.
The Royalton Blue Waters is a result of a $40 million investment. The Prime Minister is suggesting that in addition to the labor in the construction phases and workers when a hotel becomes operational, there must be greater links, especially with the agriculture sector.
That means our poultry producing industry should be massive, because we should be producing poultry, which is the preferred and standard meat, for all our visitors. We shouldn't be importing. With 8 million visitors, we should have all the tomatoes and lettuce and cabbage and potatoes produced right here.
Education Minister Favour Williams says she is satisfied that protocols in place at public schools can deal with natural disasters such as earthquakes. Since the 5.4 magnitude earthquake that struck Jamaica, there have been several other minor earthquakes. But speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing, Mrs. Williams expressed confidence in the measures put in place by school administrators.
We do have long-established protocols. We do have drills in our schools. We work collaboratively with ODPEM to ensure that disaster management principles and how they're executed and arrangements are well known and understood in our schools while students are there. As you're well aware as well, for other disasters other than earthquakes, let's say storms or so on, or schools or shelters.
She says schools continue to work closely with the various agencies, including the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM.
There's heightened awareness in our schools about disasters, fires, and most recently, the bomb threats. You saw that there was immediate action on the part of principals in all our schools that received such threats. We were able to collect information almost instantaneously. So there is a well-established protocol in terms of disasters. Of course, we should always go back and review and ensure that we're not missing any new initiative.
And it's now time for the Business Minute. The Consumer Affairs Commission has secured $22 million in compensation for local consumers. This was for the April to October 2023 period. Communications Director at the CAC, Latoya Halstead, said 572 of the 893 complaints were resolved. This represents a 64% resolution rate. The top three categories of complaints were for the electrical equipment and appliances, other services and utilities, and hardware. Further afield, for the first time since mid-August, U.S. mortgage rates fell to under 7% this week. According to data released Thursday by Freddie Mac, the rate dropped to an average of 6.95%. That's down from 7.3% the previous week. This marks the seventh straight week that rates have gone down. The Federal Reserve has been pausing its rate increases because inflation has been improving. And since mortgage rates are expected to keep falling, the Fed has been signaling rate cuts may be coming next year. And that's it for the Business Minute. Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, Belize Prime Minister John Briceño is asserting that while things are not perfect, he believes Belizeans are much better off now compared to when his administration came to office in November 2020. He says the ruling People's United Party PUP has been addressing the main issues affecting the country, including crime, the economy, unemployment, homelessness, health, education, and the cost of living. Briceño says, contrary to the statements made by the opposition regarding the cost of living, Belize imports most of what it consumes. In the meantime, the government says it is dealing with price gouging as it blames a few retailers for the problem. On the international scene, Hungary has blocked £50 billion in EU aid for Ukraine just hours after an agreement was reached on starting membership talks. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán vetoed the extra money to Ukraine following Thursday's talks in Brussels. EU leaders say the aid negotiations would resume early next year. Ukraine is critically dependent on EU and US funding as it continues to fight occupying Russian forces. And 423 people have been discharged from hospital after a rush hour collision between two subway trains in Beijing, leaving 102 people with broken bones. More than 500 people were sent to hospital after the incident on Thursday. The trains collided during a heavy snowfall while going downhill on the Chongqing subway line. And those are the top regional and international stories. I'm Carrie Simpson.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jermaine Brown will have your midday sports report.